Tonight on Global TV News Prime, INEC upholds 1.340 polling unit results, 35.61% recorded. In business, federal government moves to modernize livestock sector. And on the foreign scene, Cape Town gang violence raises dispute army deployment. And in sports, National Defense College calls for comradeship, team spirit at maiden shooting competition. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Jumai Manson. Now, a quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and Free TV. Now the news info. There's a large turnout of voters at the polling unit EC30A in Eden North local government area of Osun State, with eligible voters arriving in significant numbers and forming queues as a governorship election gets underway. The polling unit is located in Eden North local government area of incumbent Governor Ademola Adeleke, making the area one of the locations being closely watched in the ongoing election. As of the time of filing this report, voters are waiting patiently at the polling unit for accreditation and voting. The atmosphere remains calm, with voters focused on participating in the electoral process. Now, the turnout at the polling unit is notably, particularly given the history of voter participation recorded in Ede during previous governorship elections. During the 2022 Osun governorship election, large numbers of voters were also reported at polling units across Ede North and Ede South, with queues observed at several locations. The 2026 Osun governorship election is being conducted across the state's 30 local government areas and 3,763 polling units, with the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) deploying the Bimetal Voter Accreditation System (BVAS) for voter accreditation. At EC30A, a significant number of voters remain on the queue awaiting accreditation and voting, while others continue to arrive at the polling unit. The process is ongoing and the turnout observed at the location remains notably high as voters continue to exercise their franchise. Afrobeat singer David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, has queried the delay in the uploading of results from Osun State governorship election to the Independent National Electoral Commission's result viewing portal. In a series of posts on his X account, the singer called on the electoral body to ensure transparency and provide timely updates on the election results. Davido also urged voters to remain at their polling units until their results have been uploaded to the IREF portal and to ensure that figures were entered on the electronic EC8A result form. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission has continued uploading results on Osun State governorship election to its result viewing portal. Checks by our correspondent on the INEC result viewing portal as 5:18 p.m. shows that 1,340 polling unit results have been uploaded out of an expected 3,763, representing 35.61% of the total, up from 1,402 results or 10.68% about an hour earlier. Data from the IREF portal showed the last upload was recorded at 5:18:40 p.m. on Saturday from polling units today, the 29-02-04-004 in Ife North local government area, as the coalition continued across the state's 30 local government area. Former Minister of State for Police Affairs Alhaji Jalili Adesinye on Saturday complained about the slow performance of the Independent National Electoral Commission's Bimetal Voter Accreditation System at his polling unit. Adesinye, who voted at Unit 8 and Ward 6 Lagere Ideose or De Omu, expressed concern over how long it would take the large number of voters on the queue to cast their ballot given the performance of the machine. The former minister said the exercise is peaceful here. There have not been any problems, not only that the BVAS is very slow. The Center for Democracy and Development says the 2026 Osun governorship election have been largely peaceful, with INEC successfully opening most polling units earlier. It says 94.5% of the state's 3,763 polling units had opened by 8:30 a.m. according to INEC's situation report. However, CDD-EAC observers reported technical difficulties with the biometric voters accreditation system in several locations, including problems with fingerprints and facial authentication. The glitches caused delays and slow accreditation in some polling units. The group also raised concerns over alleged vote buying and isolated incidents of violence, including reports of disruptions at the polling unit in Ejegbo and an alleged tear gassing incident in Madokeke. It called for investigations and greater restraint by security agencies. Meanwhile, Clean Foundation separately assessed security conduct at monitoring polling units as largely professionals, with 94% rated good or very good and no armed groups observed around monitored centers. It urged security agencies to maintain neutrality and vigilance through voting, counting, and coalition. Executive Secretary of the Universal Basic Education Commission, Beg Aisha Garba, says no girl who drops out of school should be regarded as a lost cause. Garba stated this in Lagos during the commissioning of the rehabilitated alternative high school for girls in Agbaju Amowo Odofin, describing the facility as a second chance opportunity for girls and young mothers whose education has been disrupted. She said the school will enable beneficiaries to complete their education while acquiring vocational skills in areas including cosmetology, garment making, hairdressing, catering, and home economics. Garba commended First Lady Oluremi Tinubu for her long-standing commitment to girls' education and empowerment, and reaffirms Ubeg's commitment to expanding alternative education opportunities for girls and young women across the country. Troops of Operation Hadi Kai repelled a simultaneous attack by members of the Islamic State of West African Province on forward operating base in Mandagari Guabiu local government area of Borno State. The army said troops detected the advancing terrorists through emplaced early warnings and surveillance systems, leading to the deployment of a combat team to interdict the terrorists along one of the axes of advance. The acting military information officer, Northeast Joint Task Force Operation Hadi Kai, Captain Mohammed Goni, in a statement on Saturday, said the terrorists suffered several casualties and none recorded on the Nigerian Army side. Young Nigerians account for a significant share of the nation's population, yet their presence in political leadership remains limited. While small youths are registering to vote, joining political parties, and seeking elective offices, concerns persist over the barriers preventing them from playing a bigger role in governance. Our correspondent Sadia Yakubu reports.
Youth participation in Nigeria's political process is gradually gaining momentum. Across the country, young people are mobilizing support for candidates, engaging voters through social media, joining political parties, and contesting elective positions.
Youth are the backbone of politics, because without youth, I don't think even the name politics will exist. Electioneering campaign from A to Z, there is nothing that will be done without our youth. Youth are the backbone of politics.
The Not Too Young to Run Act and growing civic awareness have opened more opportunities for youth involvement in governance. Despite this progress, financial constraints, political violence, godfatherism, and limited access to leadership positions continue to hinder many young Nigerians with political ambitions.
Nigerian youths do participate in politics. Following the last election, a lot of youths came out en masse to vote for the candidate of their choice. Yes, so I would say that they really participate in politics. With the advent of social media, many of them cling to get information regarding the political parties and the candidate of their choice.
Political observers say greater youth participation will bring fresh ideas, strengthen democratic institutions, and promote policies that address the aspirations of the country's youthful population. They maintain that as Nigerian democracy evolves, empowering young people to participate actively in governance is essential for sustainable and national development.
I can say categorically that youth are not participating well in politics because they are not doing the right thing. The youth are busy with daily activities of finding their money.
Many Nigerians believe that with sustained civic education, equal opportunities, and a level political playing field, today's youth can become tomorrow's credible leaders. Satya Yakubu, Global TV News.
Former Vice President and presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Atiku Abubakar, has dragged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu before the Federal High Court in Abuja, seeking his disqualification from the 2027 presidential election over an alleged forged National Youth Service Corps certificate. This is as a legal counsel and chieftain of the ADC, Carlo Argos, submitted a petition against Tinubu to the European Commission in Brussels, Belgium, for allegedly submitting a forged certificate to the Independent National Electoral Commission. The two actions came with Atiku personally appearing at the Federal High Court registry in Abuja to dispose to an affidavit supporting the suit filed against Tinubu, the All Progressive Congress, and INEC. The proposed summit of opposition political parties convened by the G100 have been shifted from August 18th to August 31st, 2026 to allow participating parties to hold further consultations after the National Peace Summit. The group is urging former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, ex-Anambra State Governor Peter Obi, who are the presidential candidates of the African Democratic Congress and the Nigeria Democratic Congress, respectively, as well as other political parties, to forge a united front and present a single presidential candidate to confront President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressive Congress in the 2027 election. Now, according to the group, a fragmented opposition stands no chance of defeating Tinubu in next year's election. In a statement issued and signed by ex-chieftain of the All Progressive Congress, Salihu Lukman, the group said the decision followed consultations with the 6 participating opposition parties and members of the minority caucus of the House of Representatives. You are watching the live broadcast of News Prime. News Prime continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
It's good to have you with us on the weather forecast. Now take a look at this satellite imagery. You can see a massive weather system propagating westwards. It already triggered thunderstorms across the northeast and light rains in parts of the north central early Saturday morning. Now, these overnight storms are expected to push across the northwest and parts of the north central, bringing morning rains and thunderstorms in parts of Kaduna, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Niger, Kwara, the Federal Capital Territory, and Kogi states. But it's not just the north and the north central that will see some morning activities. Along the coastline, light rains are expected in parts of Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Delta, Bayelsa, and parts of Oyo states. As we go into the afternoon and evening hours, the weather is expected to be a bit more active in the southern parts of the country, talking about parts of the southeast, south, also include parts of Ondo, Osun, and Ekiti states, while isolated thunderstorms are expected in the north central and the northern region. That's the forecast for Sunday. I am Theodora Itzum. Thank you for watching. To have you with us on the weather forecast. Now take a look at this satellite imagery. You can see.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is News Prime on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has confirmed the commencement of consultations with relevant industry stakeholders on a domestic crude oil and gas swap arrangement aimed at cutting supply costs and ensuring more crude is available to Nigerian refineries. Now, the initiative is expected to strengthen compliance with the domestic crude supply obligation and domestic gas supply obligation while reducing the need to physically transport crude over long distances to meet supply requirements. The NUPRC Chief Executive Osetmi Yawa Ayeson disclosed this during a courtesy visit to the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority in Abuja. In a statement issued by the NUPRC Head of Media and Corporate Communications, Eniola Akinkotu, says the proposed arrangement would allow producers and refiners to optimize existing logistics and supply networks. The Minister of Livestock Development, Idi Mukhtar Maha, says Nigeria is making progress in addressing the farmers-herders crisis as the federal government intensifies effort to modernize the livestock sector. The minister was at the State House to brief President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on programs and projects being implemented by the ministry. The minister highlighted steps being taken by the ministry to modernize the livestock sector and address challenges affecting farmers and pastoralists across the country.
And we have reason for identifying this. If you look at the incidences of crisis, these states have actually reported more farmer clashes than other states that have not been mentioned. So we are conscious of that. And in terms of engagement, we have actually had stakeholder engagement with about 34 pastoral organizations. And that engagement is still on. So these engagement are supposed to explain the position of government in terms of national ranching policy that, look, we do not need to carry large number of animals to where the grass is. One business model is that today, go and fetch the grass and bring it to where the animals are. 2, grow the grass where the animals are. And this has been demonstrated over and over that you can grow pasture to feed your animals. And we believe once that we launch that one, what are we doing? We are going to build houses for them. We are going to build veterinary clinics. We are going to build primary schools. We are going to build primary health care. We are going to put solar lights. We are also going to build micro earth dams that will now be used to irrigate those pasture fields. So that is what we are talking about. And at the end of the day, each of those grazing reserves will become an economic hub. So far, we have not seen resistance from anybody because the reality on the ground is that nomadism, as it were, is no longer sustainable. And we need a different concept. And that is the concept that under the renewal agenda, Mr. President is selling to everybody.
On the foreign scene, gang violence around Cape Town has increased despite the deployment of South African soldiers to crime hotspots earlier this year. Parliamentarians conducting an oversight visit said the costly military operation has failed to curb the killings, while soldiers have reportedly raised concerns over inadequate equipment and supplies. Mukhtar Kasim tells us more.
South African soldiers continue patrol of crime hotspots across Cape Town alongside police as part of Operation Prosper, a military deployment launched to support efforts against organized crime. But 5 months into the operation, members of parliament say there has been no reduction in gang violence, with some areas recording an increase in killings.
And we need to be honest. Remember, we didn't see a decrease in gang violence since the operation started. In fact, in some parts, we saw an increase. 2 weeks ago, around the metro, I think there were just over 100 murders.
The operation has cost about 823 million rands, or nearly 51 million United States dollars, raising questions over the deployment is delivering value in the fight against violence or not. Another lawmaker, Geraldine James, said soldiers she spoke to complained about faulty vehicles and shortages of basic medication, with some describing the operation as a failure.
SANDF members telling us that, you know what, the vehicles they were driving in, at times they would get stuck with those vehicles. Saying to me they don't even have medication. This is not me saying it. This is on my phone. I recorded these members saying that this operation was a complete failure.
The military deployment was introduced after President Cyril Ramaphosa described organized crimes as a major threat to South Africa's security and economic development. However, the latest parliamentary assessment is likely to intensify scrutiny of the operation as authorities face continued pressure to tackle gang violence in Cape Flats and other crime hotspots. Mukhtar Qasim, Global TV News.
Still on foreign scene now, Zambia has resumed counting votes from its presidential and parliamentary elections after the process was temporarily suspended over security concerns. The Electoral Commission says the threat to the electoral process has now been contained, with the first batch of results expected tonight. Our correspondent Mukhtar Qasim tells us more.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia says vote counting and the announcement of results have resumed after an earlier suspension triggered by heightened security concerns. The Commission says it reviewed the security situation and consulted law enforcement agencies before deciding that the electoral process could continue.
Following a review of the security situation and consultations with the relevant law enforcement agencies, I'm pleased to inform you and to inform the nation that the security threat to the electoral process has been contained and that the necessary measures have been put in place to enable the process continue.
The suspension had raised concerns over the conduct of the vote and the timing of the release of results as the country awaited the outcome of Thursday's election. The Commission has now lifted suspension with immediate effect and says the first set of results will be announced at 10 p.m. local time or 8 p.m. Nigerian time.
We therefore wish to advise all stakeholders that the suspension of the counting and view announcement of results has been lifted with immediate effect. Further, the Commission will announce the first set of results at 22 hours this evening.
President Hakainde Hichilema is seeking a second term in an election closely watched for its economic and political implications. With counting now underway, attention turns to the emerging results and whether any candidate secures the required majority to avoid a runoff. Mukhtar Qasim, Global TV News.
The National Defense College, NDC, has held its maiden course 34 graduation shooting competition in collaboration with the Nigerian Shooting Sports Federation in Abuja, as part of effort to promote professionalism, discipline, team spirit, and comradeship among military officers. Now, the competition, according to the Commandant of the National Defense College, Rear Admiral Abdullahi Ahmed, was designed to sensitize participants to the professional importance of weapon handling while also exposing them to shooting as a competitive sport. Sports correspondent Anita Patrick tells us more.
The Commandant of the National Defense College, Rear Admiral Abdullahi Ahmed, said the college expects graduating officers to apply the knowledge and skills acquired during their training to their responsibilities at home and internationally. The Commandant also expressed optimism that the competition would become a regular feature, with plans to uphold seminar events 3 to 4 times annually.
We expect them to bring whatever they learn in the college to bear in their day-to-day work, both locally and internationally. What we intend to achieve is to sensitize all our participants, the college community, to get in tune with their professional first-line requirement, which is shooting.
The Chief of Defense Administration, Rear Admiral Gideon Kachim, described the initiative as a novel development, stressing that the discipline and patience required in marksmanship can positively influence officers' professional and personal lives.
It's very important and a very novel idea. I commend the NDC commandant. Shooting is a very deliberate and disciplined action, and it's also a sport. So when you inculcate the procedures, the processes involved in shooting, and you apply it even to your daily life, it works wonders.
The president of the Nigerian Shooting Sports Federation, Commodore Mohammed Shetima, said the partnership with the military is strategic, given the armed forces' traditional role in weapon handling. He said the federation is working to make shooting more accessible to Nigerians and change the perception that the sport is exclusively for security personnel. He added that the federation also provided an opportunity for members of the press to experience shooting as a sport during the event.
Of course, steps that we have taken to make the shooting federation popular and accessible to all Nigerians. But starting first with the military being the natural custodians of shooting wherever they are.
The initiative, according to the Federation, forms part of its grassroots development strategy aimed at popularizing shooting and positioning Nigeria to compete more strongly in international competitions, including the Olympic Games. Aniti Patrick, Global TV News.
Still on sports news now, the National Sports Commission, NSC, has congratulated the Nigeria Under-18 women basketball team, the Junior D Tigers, for securing qualification to the 2027 FIBA Under-19 Women's World Cup in China. The Nigerian girls showed total resilience in their semi-final match against host Ivory Coast at the FIBA Under-19 Afro-Basket to secure the World Cup ticket and book their spot in the tournament's final against Mali on Sunday. The hard-fought win against the Ivorians ended 53-50 points in favor of the Junior D Tigers. Director General of the NSC, Honorable Bukola Olakmade, says Nigerian girls deserve all the accolades for achieving the World Cup ticket, especially in a very difficult environment playing against the host nation. The DG also commended the board of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, NBBF, led by the president, Engineer Musa Kida, for the progressive success of the country's national teams, especially the country's women national team. As Global TV News Prime comes to an end, here's a quick reminder of our top stories again. The Independent National Electoral Commission has continued upholding results from Osun State governorship election to its result viewing portal. In business, the Minister of Livestock Development, Ibn Mukhtar Maina, says Nigeria is making progress in addressing the farmer-headed crisis, and the federal government intensifies effort to modernize the livestock sector. And on the foreign scene, gang violence in and around Cape Town has decreased despite the deployment of South African soldiers to crime hotspots earlier this year. And in sports news, the National Defense College NDC has held its maiden course 34 graduation shooting competition in collaboration with the Nigerian Shooting Sports Federation in Abuja as part of effort to promote professionalism, discipline, team spirit, and comradeship among military officers. And that's it on News Prime. Here's a quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and Free TV. Now kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @Global TV NG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching.